get my reggae on this motherfucker. Check this out. I sold drugs in my younger days to pay bills. I sold everything, nigga. And it was hard to hustle around here, you had to be real. Can't tell me nothing about this, cause this where I live. My girl said she had a bad dream, I got killed. Spooked me out of good sleep inside of my crib. And then I started getting all these stupid ideas. Like rob the bank, if I try to shit, they might kill me, baby. I'm a clean nigga that's down to get a little filthy, baby. Bounce back, G-code, you live by it, you die by it, you get it, you die trying. That's how you do it. Real niggas, we a dying breed. And it may sound complicated, but let me tell you what I believe. That I ain't never gonna be broke no more. I ain't never gotta sell dope no more. I ain't got a single PO no more. I ain't even gotta be in court no more. There ain't no place for real niggas. 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 Never gonna be broke. Never gonna go back. Never gonna have to go back to the old me and pull off my old act. Never gonna be bitch. Never not be scrapped. Never not be on it. Never not. I ride to the full flat. Get the money right now while you're here. That's what they told me. So I'ma just play it by ear and fuck all these hoes cause they in it.
Peace and love, it's your brother Isaiah tapping in with another one for the conscious brothers and sisters in the conscious community. Keep the struggle, because we know it's the struggle to grow. Also, I'd like to say that it is a slow process for progress. Race is not to the swift, those that remain beautiful. Make sure you stand for the long haul. Y'all already know I don't offer legal advice, I'm not a legal counsel or an attorney. I'm just your brother sharing with you education and information about my walks and travels, throughout my journey for life. I like to extend these honestly, because when you honor a man and woman, you honor yourself. I like to give adoration to the Most High and temple about life. Extend that same love, courtesy, and acknowledgement to all of these messages. Peace to you, beloved brothers and sisters. Grand to all of the awakened ones. Islam. So today I'm going to be coming out of UCC 4, 104. This deals with definitions and index of definitions. Okay, so in this commercial scheme of things, you have to be knowledgeable of commerce, pretty much, because commerce is basically the laws that's covering the land right now. Even though we have natural law, which is the laws of the land, when you're operating in commercial scheme of things, it's a little bit different. So commercial transactions and personal transactions operate different. So in this definition, it talks about account. An account is a deposit or a credit account with a bank. So your deposit account is either an account to make deposits into, or it's an account where you're receiving credit for specific purposes, right? So you have a deposit account and a credit account whenever you need credit, right? Including a demand, time savings, passbook, or shared draft or like account. The reason why it's called demand is because whoever's using the account can demand repayment of all the funds that they put into the account at any given time on demand, or any other account evidenced by a certificate of deposit. All right, so the certificate of deposit we know is an instrument, but also any kind of deposit. In order to open up a bank account or any account, you got to make a deposit. A deposit and account are simultaneously, they mean the exact same thing. In order to have an account, there had to be a deposit made. So if there's an account, that was a deposit. All right, so it's very, very important. So afternoon means the period of day between noon and mid. Banking day means the part of the day on which the bank is open to the public to carry on substantially all of its banking functions. Now, we're talking about an account, a deposit account. We're talking about the times the bank is open. All right, then we get down here and it starts talking about clearinghouse. Means an association of banks and other payers regularly clearing items. Now, all right, so we really gotta deal with this, okay? So we're dealing with an account, right? Which is a deposit account. Now we're talking about the times that the bank is open. Why? For this specific account right here, right? So we know the times that the bank is open for us to use this account, right? And then it's telling us that the bank carries on all its functions during these times. And then we talk about the clearinghouse. It's an association of banks, right? What they do, they pay and they clear what? Items. What is an item? What is an item? Item is a negotiable instrument. A customer means a person having an account with a bank, for whom the customer has agreed to collect, whom the bank, or for whom a bank has agreed to collect items. So, what you mean the bank agreed to collect? When you opened up your bank account, did they tell you, hey, we agreed to collect items for you? We agreed to let you send us items and we will pay or collect and pay those items. Did they tell you that? No, they didn't. They made you believe that only you can use your debit card and you can deposit checks, money orders, certain items that you receive from financial other institutions, but they never really explained to you why it's called a deposit account. Why is it called a deposit account? Meaning, usually when you have a deposit account, it's an account used for making deposits, right? And usually the bank gives credit whenever it receives a deposit of an item, right? So if we put everything in their proper perspective, we can figure a lot of things out just by using a little bit of common sense, okay? Just using a little bit of common sense, okay? Now, documentary draft, right? All right, let's break this down. What does documentary mean? We're gonna look that up. And y'all already know how Brother Isaiah, y'all know how I get down, right? So you come here, you might as well get ready to learn, right? Let's go to the legal definition. Always, when you study, look up the legal definition. Make sure you like, subscribe, share out the live, please. If you are here, then you should be sharing the information with other people, and you should be giving likes and subscribing to the channel. If you're on here, you need to subscribe to the channel. Don't be on here if you ain't subscribed. I think I'm gonna change it to where you can't even get in unless you pay. That's what I'm gonna do. You ain't gonna be able to see my stuff unless you pay. Like in the law, the word documentary usually means documentary evidence. Okay, this is any proof presented in a court case that comes in the form of a written, printed, digital, or recorded item rather than a spoken witness testimony, right? Relevant items must be help prove or disprove a fact tied to a case. So like, if you was claiming that you were the owner of the registered over the defendant in the case, and you were saying that the defendant was a registered person, you saying that that person is a registered person, and I am the registered owner. I am the authorized user of that U.S. taxpayer. And I have proof of evidence of my authority to use it. Here's a birth certificate showing the registration and the creation of the profile, right? Here's ID, and here's social security card showing that I am the one in use of this account. See, it's a difference when you can explain things in a way to where you can prove your argument. So documentary evidence will always be any document that's used as evidence against any right or something that a person holds, right? That's it. Now, so documentary draft. So what is a draft? Because we said documentary evidence, and now we got to look up this word draft, right? So let's see. So a draft is a preliminary version of a document, right? A selection process for sport or military service. All right, so let's look up the legal definition. That's why I told you. You got to deal with legal definitions. Because you live in a legal system, so in order for you to know what something really means, you really need to know the legal definition of it. So a draft is a preliminary tentative version of a written document, right? Such as a contract, bill, or will, prepared for discussion and reversion. All right. It is also refers to an unconditional written order to pay money. Whoa, 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 whoa! Wait a minute. You ain't finna just try to sneak that up in there like that. Wait a minute. You see how they try to sneak that up in there? We caught you. Yeah, we caught you. We caught you. Yeah, look. In the legal context, a draft is preliminarily tentative version of a written document. Okay, so we understand that a draft is something written, right? Usually negotiable instruments have to be in what, y'all? Writing. Yeah, such as what? A contract, a bill, oh wow, or will. Prepared for discussion and reversion. It also refers to an unconditional order. Written order to pay money, like a check or a bill of exchange. Or the act of selecting individuals for military service. Okay, so we got that. So now we say the documentary draft. Now you see, now when you read it, you got a little bit more understanding of what it's talking about, you know? And that's how you got to learn how to read. You can't just read something and just expect that you're going to understand exactly what it's talking about, especially if it's speaking in a term that you're not used to using. So a documentary draft means a draft to be presented for acceptance or payment. But wait a minute. Let's go back real quick. Let's go back. Okay. Hold on. What was my draft? Let me go back. Remember. Let me look this up one more time. So remember when we looked at draft, it says that or a draft could be an order for money to be paid, right? A draft, right? So it can be an order. So a documentary draft means a draft to be presented, right? Or accepted. So usually a draft is presented to be accepted. Okay, somebody's presenting an order and they want somebody else to accept the order, but the order comes in the form of a documentary draft. Wait a minute, Brother Isaiah, don't wake them up because they've been asleep. I know, they've been asleep. They got to get woke up, man. Or payment is specified. It says for acceptance or payment if specified documents, okay, certificated securities, or instruments for uncertificated securities, or other securities, certificates, statements, or the like are to be received by the drawee or the payer before acceptance or payment of that draft. Okay, well, damn. That's not hard to look at. Let's go to section 8102 real quick. Okay, now, it's mighty funny. Hold on, let's go back real quick. Let me show you how to read the stuff, because y'all listening to too many people that can't teach you. You need to follow somebody who can really teach you. Y'all share, like, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss when Brother Isaiah go live, right? Now it says, usually a draft is presented for acceptance, right? But payment, if specified documents or certificated securities, or instructions for uncertificated securities or other certificate statements or the like are to be received by the drawee or other payer before acceptance or payment of the draft, right? So they're saying that the drawee got to receive certain documents before the draft can be paid, right? Adverse claim, right, means a claim that a claimant has a property interest in a financial asset and that it's a violation of the rights of the claimant or another person to hold, transfer, or deal with the financial asset, right? So what do you mean adverse claim? Huh? Can you understand that? Do you understand what this is actually saying? I mean, I know you're reading it and you're saying that it's saying an adverse claim, but does it apply? Do you understand the applicability in reference to how it's being referenced and how it applies to what we're actually reading? See, a lot of y'all don't get it. You don't understand what that means. All right, you don't know what it means when it's talking about an adverse action. It's a violation for anybody other than the claimant to hold a transfer or deal with the financial asset. I'm gonna let that ruminate for a minute. I ain't gonna even expound on it. I'm gonna let you think on it. Bearer form, as applied to a certificated security, means the form in which the security is payable to the bearer, right? Of the security certificate according to its terms, but not by reason, right, of an endorsement. Okay, so usually a bearer certificate is an instrument that is already payable to a specified person, right? Meaning that the security on its face shows that it's payable to Isaiah Bay. Okay, but somebody else could have endorsed over my name and made it payable to them. See what I'm saying? Because I gave a blank endorsement on my own security. So bearer form is not dealing with the endorsement of the security. It's dealing with the order of the security, meaning the security in itself orders payment to a specific person, which makes that a bearer's instrument, right? Broker means a person defined as a broker or dealer within the federal security laws, but without excluding banks acting in that capacity, because most banks are acting in the capacity of brokers. Certificated security means security that is presented by a certificate. Okay, so a certificated security will be any security that is delivered along with the contract that pertains to it. So a certificated security will be me having an instrument and me being able to identify that instrument as part of an amount that's payable to me under an agreement I purchased. So a certificated security is when the securities identify the contract in which they're being issued for, and the person who owns the contract collects those obligations as his due balances for his loan agreement, right? And that's a certificated security. Clearing corporation means a person that is registered as a clearing agency under the federal security law, a Federal Reserve Bank, or any other person that provides clearance and settlement services with respect to financial assets. Okay, so who provides financial services? Okay, usually banks, financial institutions, federal financial institutions. All right, so all these institutions usually provide settlement of financial assets that would require it to be registered as a clearing agency under the federal security laws, but for an exclusion or an exemption from the registration requirement. It is the activities as a clearing corporation include promulgation of rules are subject to regulations by federal or state governmental authority, right? Now, to communicate, and this is one of the very important things right here, to communicate means to send a writing, right? So if somebody sends you something, they're communicating with you. If I mail a bill to you, I'm communicating with you, right? If I give you a application, that's communication, okay? You got to be able to read this and know the terms, because you could be communicating and not even know it's communication because you don't understand the legal terms of what the words mean. So when you in a legal transaction, when you're communicating, if somebody come and they communicate with you, you don't even know they're communicating with you. Child Protective Service knock on your door and say, we need to see Isaiah Bay. We need to see the baby Isaiah Bay. We want to make sure the baby's all right. That's communication. If you participate, then you give consent. Consent is to participate in communication, to communicate, to engage. To engage is to have intercourse. Let me show you something. I got to show it to you because a lot of y'all don't know. In commerce, what is considered as sexual intercourse? All right, in the context of commerce and law, a commercial sex act. Ooh, did you know you've been having commercial sex? You nasty little self. You've been having commercial sex. Commercial sex act is defined as any sex act traded for money, goods, or services of so you've been trading yourself for money, you little prostitute. I can't believe you. I can't believe you've been selling your whole self for a little bit of nothing. You sold your whole self for a lease. Are you serious? You did a commercial sex act and put yourself in debt for a piece of paper. For real? For real? Oh, man. Man, listen, you better stop having commercial sex now, okay? Y'all need to start wearing some protection around this piece, okay? Because that's why a lot of y'all is upside down. Y'all ain't got no protection. They just beating y'all. You got all kind of diseases, all kind of stuff is coming into your system. You don't even know you're having sex. Brother Isaiah's got to wake you up. Man, you keep communicating and having sex with these people, man. Like, what? Let's read it again. In the context of commercial and law, right? A commercial sex act is defined as any sex act traded for money, goods, or services of value. It does not single out one specific physical act. Instead, any sexual contact provided or received in exchange for compensation falls under this economic and legal definition. So what that means? Let me give you an example. So I had a car accident not too long ago. It was a petty accident. I backed up and didn't see a car behind me and barely bumped the car. The car already was raggedy, had dents and stuff all in it and everything, right? So it was an old European made. Of course, you know, the Europeans, they always trying to get more than what they supposed to. He knew his car was already jacked up and messed up, and I ain't got one scratch on my truck. I mean, that's how light the bump was. That it didn't even leave a scratch on my bumper or nothing. So the man, I asked him, I said, we good? He like, yeah. You know, first he was trying to act like he, like, looking at his car, like, man, you know, damn well. And I'm looking, I said, I ain't got nothing on my car. So all that stuff you see on your car was already there, bro. So he looking out, trying to clear it off. So I said, we good? So he said, I said, I'm gone. I ain't got time, because you know damn well I ain't do nothing to your car. So the man called the police. When he called the police, they run the cameras back. They looked at my plates, come to my house, told my truck, right? You know, I go through the legal stuff, get the truck. They try to force me to say I would sign tickets like I was at the scene of the accident and all that stuff, right? So, make a long story short, the insurance company started calling me. They started telling me that there's a claim on me for injury of one of their clients. They were saying that I was responsible for the injuries caused on his vehicle and the damages that they had to suffer because of the loss, and that they were trying to do a subrogation claim to be recompensated. So I'll tell them, I said, I don't have no contract with you. I don't know. They like, man, you can't hit people's car and just, bro, you're irresponsible. You cannot do that, okay? Look, you're gonna have to be responsible for your act. This is how they trying to talk to him, trying to make me feel guilty, right? But we know that everything is on insurance, right? So I ain't worried about it. So I said, all right, man, send me proof of your claim. Show me all the records, proof, police reports, videos, or anything you have in your possession that basically shows that I'm guilty. They have no photos of me, nothing. Because, you know, my windows and stuff is all tinted. So they don't have no evidence or nothing, right? So he sent me a big packet, and it got all this police stuff in here and all this other stuff, right? But it was one in particular item that I seen that stood out to me, right? Man, it was a subrogation claim. So when I looked at it, I'm looking at it, I'm like, what is this? Man, these people wrote up a subrogation contract as if like I was in a contract already written. You know how you get a consumer contract and it's already wrote out the amounts due, how much you owe, the default clauses and all that? Basically, that's what they tried to give me. They tried to give me a consumer contract for a subrogation claim to where the contract was already pre-made. And all I had to do was hold the contract or either sign it, and then it became binding upon me for subrogation. So I'm looking at it. You know me, I'm a scholar when it comes to contracts. I'm reading it, I'm laughing. Because it's funny when you have knowledge, because you can see the deceptive acts and practices, right? So I see it, man, I hurried up and gave them a conditional acceptance, agreed to perform, I agreed to be bound, I agreed to pay anything I owe, told them that I agreed to enter into a binding contract with them for the subrogation. However, before I can perform my duties to you, I got a couple of considerations I need you to consider first. So I gave them my proposals. I've already accepted theirs and said I agreed to it. Now here's mine, okay, under conditional acceptance. If you default under any of my proposals, it invalidates our contract. So now the contract I just accepted with you, before I can perform, I'm giving you something to accept from me. If you deny or dishonor mine after I've accepted yours, then it invalidates everything you did. So, of course, you know, I haven't heard anything back from them, and I doubt it if I would. So the Department of Transportation sent me out something. Oh my God, now they trying to report me to they really trying to go after my license and stuff, right? So, oh, really? So what ended up happening was, okay, Department of Transportation, you want to know what happened? You want to know what took place? No problem. Let me give them an example of what happened. I wrote down the incident. I told them that I bagged up. The car was already had many different conditions of dents and stuff from it. And I told the story of what happened. And then I reserved all of my rights under UCC 1-308 without recourse, non-negotiable. That's what I wrote on there, non-negotiable. And sent it back to him. Why? Because when you know your rights and you know how to sign and you know how to do it, you don't have to be afraid to express yourself. They can come and question me about anything, and I can give them an answer and still reserve my rights and not be liable for what I'm doing. You see what I'm saying? Even though, because everything is already covered, right? So, just to make a long story short, you know, just trying to explain it to you that you gotta know your rights, man. Because if you don't know your rights, then you're bound to be subject to whatever they say. You know, they can do anything to you. You don't know what to do. You don't know if they sending you a contract. You don't know whether or not if you keep this paper, you're gonna be bound. You don't know what's going on. You just say, oh, they send me something. You don't know what it is. You don't know how to read it. You don't. That's the reason why so many of our people is messed up. They don't understand what's going on. Why everybody want to give you a contract? Why everybody want to send you bills? Why everybody want to give you invoices? Why everybody wants you to sign something when you come into their institution? You can't even go into the goddamn junkyard without signing the contract now. They even got us signing contracts for the junkyard now. I go to the junkyard to look for some parts. They got us signing contracts, taking pictures. Man, I'm trying to tell you, you better learn the game. So, commercial sex defines legally such as under federal trafficking statute, any sex activity where anything of value is given to or received by a person, right? It includes prostitution, paid sexual services, right? And any explicit sexual in-account conditions on an exchange of payment or economic benefit. The word intercourse, historically, older legal and constitutional definitions like early Supreme Court interpretations of interstate commerce use intercourse broadly to mean communication, trade, movement, or business dealings between parties, not sexual relations. However, right, the specific phrase commercial sex or sexual commerce strictly refers to financial trade of sexual acts. So when we're doing commerce, we're having commercial sex. Why? Because we're having intercourse. We're communicating with other entities, and we're having an intercourse of a financial trade. Okay, which is called commercial sex. Now, what about commercial sex? See, commercial sex is considered as wrong because commercial sex leads to this. All right. So debt bondage is the legal status where a person pledges their personal services, meaning you gave the company a contract, you gave them a lease agreement, you gave the company a service contract for phone, for electricity, for water, whether it's electronically or whether it's in paper form. You are the one providing the services for them to perform the work for you. They work off the services you provide. You provide them with the service agreement, and then they perform and work the services that are provided under the agreement. But in your mind, in my mind, we've been taught that they were the service provider. So we think that they're supposed to be the ones receiving payment, but you are actually the service provider and they're working for you, all right? They need your name, your address, your social security number, your information to service you. Nobody can service you without the use of your person. So your person is the transmitting utility between you and the other company. They can't serve you, they can't give you electricity without the use of your person. So they're utilizing your taxpayer information to provide services to you. Understand what's going on, right? So debt bondage is the legal status where a person pledges their personal services, meaning your personal information or those of someone under their control, like the taxpayer. Just like I'm trying to tell you, if you read this shit, man, and you take your time and really read it, it'll make sense to you. All right, so you're pledging your personal services, right? What is your personal service? Your name. You're giving your name for the benefit of a taxpayer as security for a debt. They ask for your signature on the instrument for the taxpayer to receive the loan. Without your signature, the taxpayer can't get the loan, so you're pledging your name as security for the taxpayer's debt. But the work is structured so that the labor value does not reduce the debt. So when you get approved for the loan, the due balances is supposed to reduce. Every month you're supposed to receive those balances on that debt as reduced amounts. Every amount due is a reduced amount that the lender should be reducing every month because he gave you a loan. If he collects that amount, he's putting you in bondage. It's called debt bondage. When debt is credit, when you get approved for debt, you're supposed to receive it as credit, as a reduced balance, okay? If he induces you to pay more than what you were obligated to pay, and he increases the loan amount. How does he increase the loan amount? If the loan amount was principally $5,000 of principal loan, and then he charges me every month to add $50 in principal toward the loan, he's basically overcharging the loan because he only supposed to have $50,000 in principal payments. If the amount of principal was totally transferred at the beginning, then all the principal has already been paid already. So why is he steady billing you to pay more principal toward the note? That's not how it goes. That's called debt bondage, okay? That's when somebody's making you liable for the services that you provide. You provided services and you are entitled to the due balances for the services you provided. If somebody else collect those due balances rather than you receiving those due balances for your services, then you're in bondage. I can't make it up. I'm showing it to you. You can argue with me all day. I bet you won't put your money where your mouth is. I burn you up. I burn you up. Anybody else, you go get it. I'm gonna burn their ass up when it comes to this. Right? Check it out. The term debt bondage means the status of the conditions of a debtor, right? Arising from a pledge by the debtor of his personal services. What the hell? Did you know you was providing personal services to T-Mobile, the gas company, the water company? Did you know that you were the service provider? Oh my God. So the whole time we the service provider. Or of those of a person under his control. I wonder who's under your control. If you a man or you a woman and it's talking about a person under your control, what person is under a man or a woman's control? Who is the only one authorized to use that man or woman's person? Is the man or the woman the only one that can use their person as their own legal identity, or can I use your person as my legal identity? Or are you the only one authorized to use it? Y'all better wake the hell up and stop playing, okay? Because we living in a time now where you gotta be conscious, man. You can't keep playing yourself like a little kid, man. For real. Understand that you are the owner of a person. It's like using a puppet. Your legal name is your puppet. You are the puppet master. Get the hell out of here, right? Of those of a person under his control, whether it's a business, a trust, a LLC, it doesn't matter. As security for a debt. Wait a minute, let's read it again. The term debt bondage means the status of the conditions of a debtor arising from a pledge by the debtor of his or her personal services. So the debtor pledged the lease, the debtor pledged the mortgage, the debtor pledged some kind of contract, right, of his personal services or of those of his person, because he was acting as an agent, for security for the debt. So I gave the lease as security for the principal's debt. So I signed all rights, titles, and interests under the lease as security against the principal's obligation. So the lease became the payment for the principal. If the value of those services are reasonably assessed and is not applied toward the liquidation. So that means that somebody has to acknowledge, assess, identify, agree, and then use those amounts to liquidate the debt that the amounts are issued for. Usually a lease is issued with rents, and the rents, once they have been acknowledged and assessed, are used to liquidate the lease. Why come you can't see that? What's so hard about seeing that? I just don't get it. Or the length or the nature of those services are not respectfully limited and defined. Okay? I can't make it up. Straight up. I can't make this stuff up, man. So we're talking about debt bondage. You got individuals that are in debt, right? In bondage for debt, but don't understand why, right? Let's go here. Brother Isaiah, I'm gonna teach you how to read, right? Abuse or threatened abuse of law or legal process. The term abuse, threatened abuse, or legal process means the use or the threatened abuse of law or legal process where administrative, civil, or criminal in any matter for any purpose for which the law was not designed. in order to exert pressure on another person or to cause that person to take some action or refrain from taking some action, right? So when they threaten, if you don't pay this, we're gonna take your house, we're gonna do this, in order to get you to act out something of another person or to bind you to the obligation of another person using excess pressure on you, knowing that it's going to be hard for you to make a good decision under pressure. The term appropriate congressional committee means the Committee of the Foreign Relations and Committee on the Judiciary, the Senate of the Committee of the Foreign Affairs, and the Committee on the Judiciary of the House of Representatives. Coercion is the threat of a serious harm or physical restraint against any person, any scheme, plan, or pattern intended to cause a person to believe that failure to perform an act, failure to pay rents, failure to pay installments, failure to do any act would result in serious harm to physical restraint against any person, right? Failure to appear in court, failure to do this and that when they know that the person is a legal entity, okay? The abuse or the threat of abuse of a legal process. The term commercial sex act means any sex act conducted with anything of value is given or received by a person. So if they give you anything of value in exchange for your services, in exchange for you to perform, right? It's like buying you as a prostitute, like you prostituting yourself out, okay? Because a consumer doesn't buy goods for resale, so you shouldn't be buying again if you've already purchased. All right, so this right here for the government to eliminate trafficking, right? Trafficking a person. All right, so let me see if I can find it. That's dead bondage. Okay, look. Involuntary servitude, right, includes a condition of servitude induced by means of any scheme. So if somebody schemed you to take the place of a U.S. person so that you can pay the debt for the United States rather than the United States pay its own debt, that's a scheme. Why? How's it a scheme? Because they wrote the contract up in such a way and they failed to give you full disclosure so you can know of your rights under the contract, to where you were assuming to believe that they were actually talking directly to you, but nobody in the system talked directly to a man. Everybody talks to a man or a woman through a person. Everybody talks to you through man, listen, I can't make it up. I can't make it up. No man or woman in an official capacity speaks to you directly. They always speak to you through your legal person. Facts. Any scheme, plan, or pattern intended to cause a person to believe that if the person did not enter into or continue in such conditions, that the person or another person will suffer serious harm or physical restraints, right? The abuse or the threatened abuse of a legal process, right? All right, the term abuse, legal process means the use and threatened use of the law or legal process, whether administrative, civil, or criminal, in any manner or for any purpose for which the law was not designed, in order to exert pressure on another. So the law was not designed for a man to be liable for the obligations of a person or his person. So anybody that's making you liable for the obligations of a person is using deceptive means and act in the law. When you go to court, if they call out your legal name and you say, yes, I'm here as the sole representative of that legal sole proprietorship, that Isaiah Joaquin Bay is a sole proprietorship, and I'm the sole owner appearing on behalf of the record in order to defend matters that have been asserted against me in my legal capacity. You're supposed to let them know that it's a sole proprietorship. You got to let them know that the name is an entity, and you are the sole owner, the sole user. that nobody other than me can use. Yes, Isaiah Bay, let the record reflect that I am the sole representative, the only person authorized by the law of the state to use that name, to sign under that name, to contracts under that name. And I'm appearing here especially in my proper person in order to represent the name as a representative. What they're gonna say, you can't do that. You can't come in here and say that you're the only one who can use Isaiah Joaquin Bay. You're the only one who can sign contracts for Isaiah Joaquin Bay. You are the only one who is authorized to receive and use any information pertaining to that person. When you talk like that, that shows that you're a little bit too competent because they want you to be Isaiah Joaquin Bay. They don't want you to represent them. No. We're going to get an attorney to do that. You are Isaiah. You know what I'm saying? Get up out of here. Get on up out of here, y'all. But let me go. Hey, I'm going to get on up out of here. I got something I got to take care of. I just wanted to come on and just give y'all something to look at. Now, y'all can go back and check this out, but I'm going to read something for you real quick, right? It's called Severe Forms of Trafficking in Persons. The term severe form of trafficking in persons means a sex trafficking, right? In which a commercial sex act is induced by force. Okay, so somebody make you enter into a legal agreement and they use by force or fraud or coercion, right? Or in which the person induces to perform such act has not attained 18 years of age, or the recruitment, harboring, transportation, provisions, or obtaining of a person for labor or services through the use of force, fraud, or coercion for the purposes of subjection to involuntary servitude, peonage, and debt, bondage, or slavery. So it's against the law for anybody to force you to pay bills to them if that's not your will. See, anybody forcing you to do something that's against your will, then that's considered as servitude. So involuntary servitude, let's look at this real quick. Check this out. Involuntary servitude includes a condition of servitude induced by means of any scheme, plan, or pattern intended to cause a person to believe that if they didn't do it, they would lose their rights. So involuntary servitude is to tell you that if you don't make all the monthly payments on the mortgage, then we'll have to take your house. If you don't make all the monthly payments on the mortgage, then we'll have to report this as part of your credit report. All right? That's considered as trafficking in persons, right? Because you are securing your person. So for anybody to make you feel that that you're not secure, that you have to do a specific act or deed in order to receive security, that's deception. All right? So when they recruit something from you, harboring, and not basically soliciting a person for the purposes of commercial sex, they're trying to get you to enter into an agreement with them in order to hold you liable for some type of value provided for the person that you're using, when they know that you are the one entitled to the benefits of that person. And they put you they basically use deceptive means. Why? Because they know you're not aware of your person. How do they know that? Because when you go and you enter into an agreement with them, the way you sign the contract will tell the lender whether or not you're competent. Just by the way he see the way your signature is, will tell whether you're competent. Right? I gotta go, y'all. But I do have a upcoming webinar coming soon. Y'all can go to buildingbetterminds.info. Just go to our event page, and you should be able to sign up for the upcoming webinar and things like that. But I'm gonna come back, man. I'm gonna go a little bit deeper in sex trafficking, right? Because I'm gonna show y'all something where it even speaks about Like anything on your credit report, any adverse action saying that you are liable is considered as human trafficking. Anytime if they put it on the credit report and they make the actual man responsible for the person's obligation that he's using, that's fine. They ain't supposed to do that. That's why you got the rights to express your position with any company, any agency, and you hold the records in order to prove your position. The same documents that identify the taxpayer is the same documents that identify the representative. Remember, the taxpayer and the representative are simultaneously one entity. It's just like a husband and a wife coming together and they become one person. Even though they're two separate entities, they're together bound under one contract. So that's the same thing you and your principal are. All right? The legal name in all caps is the business name, and the real name of the man is the agent's name, or the one who has the authority to use the business. Okay? But it's a sole proprietorship. It's a sole proprietorship, and you are the sole owner, sole user, and you are the only one who has the authority over that person. I will be back with more information. Thank you guys for tuning in. I know this was pretty short, but I will be back here in a few more hours. Y'all just give me a little time to get some things together, and I will be coming back with more information, man. Listen, man, I got a lot of great information on the way. I got a lot of different things I want to reveal to the people and show the people. We're gonna be going over some real deep things. I'm gonna start. I've been thinking about it, like making a scheduled time where I come on the platform every day, and I'm thinking about doing maybe a podcast. I might set up and do a podcast and start, inviting different guests and doing different things. I haven't really decided yet, but I do got a special treat for y'all. I got a special treat for y'all. Brother Isaiah is coming out with a game show. Stay tuned. I'll catch y'all then. And the name of my game show is called D-Joy Relief. D-Joy Relief. Y'all look forward to D-Joy Relief, the game show coming soon by Building Better Minds. Brother Isaiah, we got something great for you, okay? This is going to be the hottest game show on the internet. Check it out. It's your brother Isaiah signing out. And love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, and equality for us all. You guys have a blessed and wonderful day. Stay tuned because Brother Isaiah got more info on the way. Peace and love. I'll catch y'all in the next one.